The production and delivery numbers are out, and the news is not as bad as some feared, worse than some feared, but I mean, come on, what are you going to do? But for S and X and perhaps Cybertruck, the numbers are less encouraging. Hard to argue they're anything but terrible, and maybe that means the end of the road is near for S and X, and well, what about the Cybertruck? We're going to discuss all that. I've got Herbert here from Brighter. We're going to get into it. He's going to make us brighter, whether he likes it or not. And we'll just figure out what's going on. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Oza. So Herbert, you of course have seen this. We've all seen this by now, I hope. And if you haven't, here's the production and delivery numbers. 3 and Y produced 345, delivered 323. And other models, which is S, X, Cybertruck, and maybe Semi, produced 17,000, sold 12,000, sold 13,000. What's going on? Tell me what numbers I'm looking at.
Specifically SX and
yes,
let's talk about
models.
that. Oh, the other models. Okay. So it's hard to know, right? There's so many things that are moving here. But first glance, right, you're seeing a 5,000 less deliveries than production. But of course, you have to consider how much was in inventory, how much production are they doing. But yes, let's take it for face value. Let's say that there's a drop there. But that's built with Cybertruck. So in my guesses, if I had to figure this out, I would say the Cybertrucks, because they've already sold 100,000 version, people are waiting for the new trim, for the real wheel drive. That could be the reason. And then the S and X, they're old models. There's nothing new about them. There's been a while. I don't know if it's because if you take a look at Rivian numbers, they're down to these cars that are 100,000 or more. That's a different segment. You got to look at that differently from the economy, the expectations of the recession. There's just so many things that are going on. But in general, like I've always I've been saying this for over a couple of years. I don't think Tesla needs to be making the S and X anymore. They shouldn't have been doing it anymore. These are small numbers. Yes, you want to have that segment, but is it a distraction for a company to continue focusing on volume that is pretty small in my case? Now, are they serving as hero products, right? I mean, I know my wife loves the X wings and thinks that they're so cool. The S is gorgeous car. I personally want an S myself, but should they continue making them or not? I've always said I don't think Tesla needs to.
Yes, if you want ultimate highway range, the Model S is the king among Tesla products at least, but really among most of the market. There are not a whole lot of cars with more range than the new Model S, but these are expensive cars, and there is a limit to how low the production can get. And what I've been saying for a while now is if they get to an amount of volume that is less than a single shift combined between S and X, you start losing economies
What's
of
that
scale.
number?
Well, I don't know that number, but we've got to be right there. We are right there. If they could move all the ones they sold. Now on 3 and Y, looking at this again, you can see production was much higher than deliveries, but not much, like less than 10% higher. And that's because they were restocking the Model Ys that they depleted in the previous quarter. But this is a big spread, and there was no sell down in the previous quarter that they needed to restock.
Yeah, and I think Jeff was pointing out that we did not see huge incentives on the Y and the X and the Cybertruck. And if you
SX and Cybertruck.
SX and Cybertruck. So, right, again, it's just, well, why didn't they do that if they thought that, sales were plummeting? So,
yes,
interesting.
It's a fine question. Now, Cybertruck, I see having 3 headwinds. One is that there are people who believed it would be 39,000 or even inflation adjusted 49,000. And we do not yet have that rear wheel drive version. That's headwind 1. Headwind 2, at least in terms of the reservations, there are people who reserve 10, 50, 100 of them because they believe that they would already be robo-taxis and they could just buy them, send them out at 39 grand and make 39 grand per year each. And that, of course, has also not happened. And the third being, while you're I was of the belief that by now you would not be getting attention in it. There would be enough of them on the road that it would just be, people are used to it. But it's not. Little kids will still stop and take pictures. A lot of people will come up and talk to you. And then of course there's people who will come up and talk to you because they don't like you. because some person whom you've never met has political beliefs that you may not yourself share, and they just really want you to know that. Um, all of those, and a lot of people just don't like attention to that degree anyway. It's one thing to be in a cool car and people go, cool car, but another for them to say, can I get in it? Can I be your friend? So it is still a big attention magnet, and I think there are people who don't like that. What do you see being the next round of sales increaser on the Cybertruck?
Oh, yeah, the new trim, the rear wheel drive, that's coming out this year, and it should be a lower cost. That's going to be massive. Just price alone is enough to skyrocket. Like I've been saying, it's shocking actually if you think about it. The Cybertruck is the number one best-selling electric vehicle already, and at $100,000 or more. Right? These are launch editions, Cyber Beast. So now.
But they do have them today for 80,000 with
Sure,
incentive gets you to 72,500.
Right. But yeah, as you know, that this is still expensive. So when
It's
they get
still
down,
expensive.
yeah, this is where we're going to get to real competitive pricing.
And I think we've got economic uncertainty where people may not be as enthusiastic to buy a big ticket item right now. We have seen consumer sentiment falling off in the economic reports. That's certainly going to play some role. SNX, we've heard there could be a refresh coming, maybe even by the end of the year.
So that was just announced, or was it Lars Morvey was being interviewed, right, by Jay Leno, and he let that slip that they love these cars. They're going to go and do a refresh on them, so they're not dropping them anytime soon. Some people interpreted that to say that's going to happen this year, but I believe it's not going to happen this year. I've heard otherwise, that it was just the way he said the words when he said it, that people thought he meant to say that it's going to come out this year. And that's not the case. It'll come in a couple of years or so, but they're working on it. It's coming out. So, and the Roadster. So that Roadster is going to be a lot less volumes than these guys. So these serves as hero products. And that alone may be, they make the coolest cars in the world, fastest cars in the world. Those things, they serve a purpose.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have liked to have seen when they did the refresh of the Model S and X last time is I thought they were going to give it a Roadster inspired front end, which would make it look more like the Taycan, which is a very attractive car. And the Taycan is proof that you can have a good looking car that's also still has a low coefficient of drag, which in EVs is what you need, especially at highway speeds, which is the only time people really notice what their range is. I don't notice what my range is around town because I come home and plug in. I only lost 2%. But on highway, on road trips, it's certainly a lot more evident. I think those refreshes are going to happen sooner than Tesla would like because sales are falling so much. It is not enough to have a car that's, they need to move units, and S and X are just not moving significant units. I'll see if I can get a clip of it to put up on screen. At Chattanooga, a gentleman brought his Back to the Future Time Machine Edition Model X, which had, of course, the rope light on the side and the little vents out the back, and it shot stripes of fire. He had lighter fluid that would squirt on the pavement and ignite. It was pretty amazing and extreme and silly, and we all loved it very much. So do you think any new vehicles that Tesla release would be in a segment that would make the S or X not relevant?
Like I said earlier, I'm a little bit of an outlier here. I just don't understand why Tesla is even continuing to sell the S, X.
If they made a Plaid 3, that would really bite into the few remaining
I just don't think they need to be doing this anymore, right? You are going full force on autonomy. Every car you should pump out, the entire factory should be all making robots, and they should be making autonomous cars. If you're going to make me an autonomous Roadster, autonomous Cybercab, which they're autonomous, but I mean like autonomy first, right? The inside is like everything built just like the Cybercab was with that in mind. That makes more sense to me than making these as drivable cars. But that's what these are, drivable cars, because people love the speed, they love the look, right? That's the whole point. But it becomes, it's a niche thing as opposed to the future of where we're headed. So I'd rather them create more robovans, more robovan segmentations, right? Form factors, than create a new Roadster or a new Model Y. Having said that, I'm not a car guy, but I might buy the Roadster.
Well,
I love it. It's so gorgeous. But
as a reward for making it this far in the video, guys, you get to hear my theory,
okay.
which is that the SNX will be refreshed and themed not too dissimilarly from the Roadster at the same time the Roadster is produced, because I think all three vehicles will be made on the same line, that original legacy line that Tesla first put in, because it does make sense, because they're all using...
If it's one line for three, then man, that makes sense, right?
It makes sense. And none of them are using gigacastings. They could all use the same battery, and largely the same design philosophy. It is not unusual for car makers to make 2-3 cars on the same line when it is a limited production run. And the SNX getting a new life would mean that they would actually have the capacity to build the Roadster, because the Roadster itself would not be sufficient volume to maintain a single line. Thoughts, Herbert? Did I nail it or what?
Nailed it. That makes a lot of sense for me. Again, if it's like just one thing that you're doing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but they serve as hero products, okay, let's do it.
Well, and it's you need something that pulls people into the showroom. And you and I discussed this a year or two ago. I'm a MG dealer. I'm a Polestar dealer. What can I put in my showroom that will make people come in, not to buy that product, but just come in at all? And the answer is there's nothing. There's nothing. Polestar does have a gorgeous concept car. I saw it at the Everything Electric show in Vancouver last year. It is gorgeous, but you couldn't possibly put one in every showroom. That's insane. They can't afford that. Tesla's got their Optimus bot. They've got their Cybertruck. They've got their Cyber Cab in many locations at various times. And of course, even just the Model X having the Falcon Wing doors open is a showstop.
Now that you have the Cyber Cab with the butterfly wings, you can, that's what makes it cool, and that's enough.
Yeah,
I don't think
and it looks different. Yeah. It's a gold car. You don't see many of those. So, guys, what do you think? Are we crazy here? SNX, are they dead, or are they just waiting for a rebirth? Cybertruck, I'm definitely going to get some comments here saying it was the hugest flop in all of history and they will replace it with a normal looking truck. Hey, maybe they will, but it's not a flop. It is the best-selling electric pickup in universe history that we are aware of. So guys, in the comments, what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? All that good stuff. You know what you're doing. And if you feel like getting some little bit of bonus footage, there is bonus footage out on a regular basis for my premium subscribers on Patreon, YouTube, or X. I'm not saying it's the greatest stuff ever, but I'm saying if you're not enjoying it, then I mean, life's just not worth living at that point. So guys, head on over to Brighter, see what Herbert's up to. He's got fantastic guests, he always does. And everybody else, like, subscribe, and stay tuned to Juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots next April Fools, when I do not know how I will top myself.